The text message glowed on Mark's phone. "I'm here. But there's something I need to tell you." He glanced through the restaurant window, spotting her in the parking lot, illuminated by the soft glow of her car's interior light. What happened next would change both their lives forever. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming content that reminds us how unexpected moments can lead to life's greatest blessings. Mark Wilson adjusted his collar for the 5th time, checking his reflection in the restaurant's window. At 42, he felt ridiculous being nervous about a first date, but it had been nearly 3 years since Sarah's death, and this was his first attempt at moving forward. His daughter Emma, now 12, had practically pushed him out the door tonight. "Dad, Mrs. Rodriguez is already here to watch me. Just go." Emma had insisted, rolling her eyes in that preteen way that somehow managed to be both annoying and endearing. "You deserve to be happy too." Those words echoed in his mind as he waited at a corner table at Bellini's, the local Italian restaurant that struck the perfect balance between nice enough for a date but casual enough to not seem presumptuous. He'd met Natalie through an online dating app, something his brother had set up for him after months of gentle prodding. Their conversations had flowed easily over text, discovering shared interests in hiking, old movies, and a mutual love for terrible dad jokes. She was a kindergarten teacher, divorced, and seemed genuinely kind. His phone buzzed with a text, "I'm here. But there's something I need to tell you." Mark frowned, looking through the window to the parking lot. He could see a blue sedan with the interior light on. Natalie was sitting inside, not making any move to exit the vehicle. Something about her posture seemed tense, even from this distance. He texted back, "Everything okay?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, "Can you come out to the car for a minute?" Mark's stomach tightened. Was she about to cancel? Had she seen him through the window and decided he didn't match his profile picture? He slipped his phone into his pocket, nodded apologetically to the hostess, and headed outside. The evening air carried the first hint of autumn as he approached Natalie's car. She looked up as he neared, and even in the dim light, he could see she was beautiful, warm brown eyes, dark curly hair pulled back in a loose ponytail, and a nervous smile that somehow made him feel less anxious about his own jitters. She rolled down the window. "Hi, Mark. I'm so sorry about this." "No problem," he said, trying to sound casual. "Everything all right?" Natalie bit her lip, then whispered, "My children are in the car." Mark blinked, processing her words as he peered through the window. In the back seat, he could now make out 2 small shapes, a boy who looked about 5 slumped against a booster seat, fast asleep, and a little girl, perhaps 3, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit, her eyes heavy with sleep but still watching him curiously. "My babysitter canceled last minute," Natalie explained quickly, her words tumbling out. "My mom was supposed to step in, but she slipped on her porch steps and sprained her ankle. I tried everyone I know, but it's Friday night and—" She trailed off, shaking her head. "I should have just canceled, but I was really looking forward to meeting you, and I thought maybe we could reschedule once we met in person, and—" "Are they hungry?" Mark interrupted. Natalie stopped mid-sentence. "What? Your kids. Have they had dinner?" He smiled, surprising himself with how calm he felt. "No," she admitted. "I was going to grab them something on the way home." Mark nodded, making a decision. "I have a table inside. There's plenty of room for 4. Natalie's eyes widened. "You want us all to have dinner together? On our first date?" "Why not?" Mark shrugged. "I'm a dad too, remember? I know how these things go." For a moment, Natalie just stared at him, then a genuine smile spread across her face. "Most guys would have run for the hills." "I'm not most guys," Mark replied, then gestured toward the restaurant. "Besides, Bellini's has the best chocolate gelato in town. I bet they'd like that." 10 minutes later, they were seated at a corner booth, the children now fully awake. Natalie's son, Ethan, was carefully studying the children's menu while her daughter, Lily, was busy arranging the sugar packets in elaborate patterns. "I'm really sorry about this," Natalie whispered across the table while the kids were distracted. "This isn't how I pictured our first date." Mark smiled. Life rarely goes according to plan. Especially with kids. As they ordered and began to eat, Mark found himself relaxing. There was something comforting about the chaos of dining with children, Ethan's detailed explanation of why spaghetti was superior to all other pasta shapes, Lily's insistence on dipping her breadstick in her water before eating it, and Natalie's gentle, patient responses to it all. "So you have a daughter?" Natalie asked during a rare quiet moment when both children were focused on their food. "Emma. She's 12 going on 25, Mark said with a chuckle. "She's with a neighbor tonight. She practically pushed me out the door." 12 is a fun age, Natalie said. "I teach kindergarten, but my sister has a 12-year-old. One minute they're still playing with toys, the next they're discussing global warming and asking for their own phone." "That's Emma exactly," Mark agreed. "She's been my rock, though. After her mom died, he stopped, surprised at himself for bringing up Sarah so quickly. Natalie reached across the table and briefly touched his hand. "It's okay. We all have our stories." Something in her tone made Mark think she understood more than she was saying. As the evening progressed, they traded parenting war stories between helping the kids with their meals and cleaning up spilled water. Mark learned that Natalie had been divorced for 4 years after her ex-husband decided family life wasn't for him and moved across the country, rarely keeping in touch with his children. "It was hard at first," she admitted while cutting Lily's pizza into smaller pieces. "But we've found our rhythm. They're resilient, kids." "They are," Mark agreed, watching as Ethan carefully explained to Lily why the moon followed their car when they drove at night. "More resilient than we give them credit for." By the time they ordered dessert, chocolate gelato for the kids, as promised, Mark realized he was enjoying himself more than he had in years. There was something refreshingly honest about this unconventional first date. No carefully curated conversations or awkward silences, just the beautiful mess of real life. As they walked to their cars after dinner, the children now sleepy again, Lily reached up and took Mark's hand as naturally as if she'd known him forever. The small gesture caught him off guard, sending an unexpected wave of emotion through him. "I think she likes you," Natalie said softly, carrying a half-asleep Ethan. "The feeling's mutual," Mark replied, gently swinging Lily's hand. "This wasn't what I expected tonight, but I'm glad it happened this way." At Natalie's car, he helped get the children buckled into their seats. Lily insisted on a high-five goodbye, while Ethan solemnly informed Mark that he could come to his birthday party if he wanted. It was superhero-themed. When the kids were settled, Natalie turned to Mark in the dim light of the parking lot. "I should apologize again, but I'm not actually sorry anymore," she said with a small laugh. "This was nice. Different, but nice. Much better than awkward first-date small talk," Mark agreed. "Though I still don't know your favorite color or what kind of music you like." "Purple. And everything from 90s grunge to classical piano," she answered promptly. "You?" "Blue. Classic rock and whatever Emma makes me listen to in the car." They stood there for a moment, smiling at each other in the gentle glow of the restaurant lights. "I'd like to do this again," Mark said finally. "Maybe next time with all the kids." Emma's been saying she misses having someone to boss around. Natalie's smile widened. "I'd like that. A lot." As Mark drove home that night, he couldn't stop smiling. He'd expected a simple dinner, maybe some conversation that might lead to a second date. Instead, he'd gotten sticky high-fives, spilled water, and the most genuine connection he'd felt with someone since Sarah. When he walked through his front door, Emma looked up from the couch where she was watching a movie with Mrs. Rodriguez. "How was it?" she asked, trying to sound casual but unable to hide her curiosity. Mark hung up his jacket, thinking about how to answer. It was unexpected, he said finally. In the best possible way. 6 months later, Mark stood in his backyard, watching as Emma showed Ethan how to properly roast a marshmallow while Natalie and Lily arranged cookies on a plate for s'mores. Their Friday night tradition had evolved naturally, the 5 of them finding a rhythm together that somehow worked despite the occasional chaos. There had been challenges, of course. Emma had initially been territorial about sharing her dad's attention. Ethan had gone through a phase of testing every boundary Mark set. Lily had nightmares for a week when they tried their first sleepover at Mark's house. And both Mark and Natalie had moments of doubt, wondering if they were moving too fast, if they were asking too much of their children, if they were somehow betraying their past by building this new future. But through it all, they'd talked, really talked, about their fears, their hopes, and the complicated reality of blending their lives. They'd given the children space to express their feelings, even when those feelings were messy and difficult. They'd taken things one day at a time, celebrating small victories and learning from the inevitable missteps. Now, watching the firelight dance across all their faces, Mark felt a sense of peace he hadn't thought possible again. This wasn't the life he'd planned. It wasn't the family he'd imagined. But somehow, it was exactly what he needed. Natalie caught his eye across the fire and smiled, that same warm smile that had first captured his attention in the dim light of her car 6 months ago. She made her way around the fire pit to stand beside him. "Penny for your thoughts," she said, slipping her hand into his. "I was just thinking about our first date," Mark replied. "How everything changed when you whispered those 5 words." Natalie laughed softly. "My children are in the car." Not exactly the most romantic opening line. "I don't know," Mark said, squeezing her hand. "It worked out pretty well for me." As the night deepened around them, the children's laughter rising into the star-filled sky, Mark realized that sometimes life's most beautiful moments come from its most unexpected detours. And sometimes, the family you find along the way is exactly the one you need. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Life's most beautiful journeys often begin with unexpected turns, and we share stories that celebrate these moments every week. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a new story that might just remind you of the magic in your own life.